Welcome to Callan's Crafting Studio. I'm Tracy Jo Callan. Today I'm going to show everyone how I designed this card using Cricut Design Space and my Cricut Explore Air machine. I am going to actually walk you through building it in the software on my computer, and then I will cut the pieces and I'll show you how I assembled it and what tools I used. This is a standard A2 size card. I did it as a sympathy, but you could really use it as a birthday, thank you card, thinking of you, any kind of sentiment that you want to put on the front. I've also, in addition to cardstock, used the Cricut Distressed Foam. So I'm going to cut those pieces out as well. And then I've used some additional accessories such as some gemstones. So here we go. Okay. First, you're going to make sure you log into your account into Cricut Design Space. And we're going to start out by inserting a shape. So I'm going to go to the Insert panel, Insert Shapes panel, and choose a square. And we're going to make this card the standard A2 size. So you're going to want to immediately change the dimensions. You're going to unlock it by clicking the unlock key here, or you can click it here. I'm going to click it over here. You'll learn in Design Space there's many different ways to do things, and it's all just about personal preferences. I'm working on a desktop computer with a keyboard and a mouse. I know some people will design these things on their iPads or iPhones or other devices. So first I'm going to start by changing those dimensions to 4 1/4 by 11. Okay, and you get this nice long piece here. I will immediately go here and click on the square itself and change the color to white. Then I'm going to insert a score line. So you go to Insert Shape, Score Line. You see your score line here. I'm going to come over and edit it. And I'm going to change that score line to 4 1/4 so it matches the width of the card. And then I'm going to change it and rotate it to a 90-degree angle. Then I'm going to use my Shift key and grab both of it, or you can grab it by pulling down on everything here and it grabs it that way too. I probably have to have the screen a little bit smaller in order for that to work. There we go. And then I'm going to come up to the top here and I'm going to say Align and I'm going to say Center. And then that puts my score line right there in the center. Now I'm going to want to come over because I want to attach that score line to the card, so once we cut it, it will be included. And you can put your scoring tool in your Cricut machine. I happen to have a Cricut Explore Air. So I'm going to hit attach, and now you can see that that score line is all there in one piece. So this is your card base. Pretty simple. So basically this card is made with just a lot of rectangular shapes. So I eyeball a lot of it when I design cards. Some people like to have exact measurements. There's many different ways to do it. So for now, I'm just going to insert the shapes and I'm going to eyeball. So I'm going to insert another square and I'm going to go down here and I'm going to duplicate it several times because I'm going to need different ones. So I'm going to bring the first one down. I'm going to bring it over on top of my card. I'm going to unlock it and I'm going to simply size it to what I think looks good on the card. Again, some people want to be exact. You can go over to your measurements and you can make it exact. I guess if it's a 4 1/4 card, it could be 4 by 5 1/4. 4 by 5 1/4. That's probably a more exact dimension there. Okay. Now the colors in my card are mostly black and white with some turquoises, so I'm just going to really, obviously you don't have to change the colors on these, but if you want to see kind of what it's going to look like, you can certainly do that. So I'm going to go and I'm going to change this to black. Then I'm going to bring my next box down. I'm going to change this color to white by clicking on it. Here we go. Nope. It's white. Again, I'm going to unclick the dimensions. I'm going to bring it to the front. We want it on top of the card. Bring it back over here to the corner, and again I'm going to drag it down to see that looks pretty good. Again, we could go over and give it exact dimensions. I believe it would be 3.75 by 5. and that's going to give us an exact 1/4 inch from the outside of the card all the way to the inside. So that's going to be the back of the card. Now I'm going to bring another one over here, and now we're going to start to decorate the front of the card. So here I'm going to again unlock it. This I want black again, so I'm going to change it to black. Square here to black. I'm going to bring it up again. I have to bring it to the front, move to the front, bring it on top of the card base, and I'm going to drag it down. This I am definitely going to eyeball. It's all visual at this point for what I think looks good. You can do it really any way that you want, so I think that's probably pretty good there. Now this piece, since I do want a smaller piece that I'm actually going to put in a different color, rather than use one of these again, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate that one, so it's going to give me the exact one. Again, I'm going to change it to white, and I'm going to put it on top of it, and I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to lock my dimensions again. I'm going to bring it down. I think that looks pretty good. Actually, I think this one I'm going to use some pattern paper for, so I'm just going to go ahead on and actually change that to, we're just going to make it, we'll make it a pretty blue for now. So there we go. All right, now I'm going to bring another one down, and I'm going to also change this one to white. In the example that I showed you, I actually embossed this piece. Actually, I have a black one behind it first, so we're going to take this one, we're going to make it black. I'm going to, again, bring it to the front. We're going to put it over here, like so. Bring it down, bring it to the front. And it kind of looks like that. Now that I did put some embellishments over here, so little gemstones, I'm going to grab those two by clicking my shift key and clicking on over, then move it over a little bit. I want to give it a little bit more room, so I can put some gemstones here and also down here. And then I have one more square that I forgot to add that's on my example card that I'm going to insert another shape of the square. Unlock it. This one I'm going to leave gray because it's fine, that color, because again it's a different type of pattern. So I basically used a black and white, a patterned paper, two different pattern papers, excuse me. So we're going to put this one here, but this one I want to go right about there, but I'm going to send it to the back because I want it to, not completely to the back. I'm just going to keep moving it backwards until I get it back. One more. I want it back and back. There we go. So it's right going to be in between on top of the white before we start layering these. So I think that looks pretty good. All right, so now we're going to insert some images. And the first image I'm going to insert is, I wanted to use a ribbon, and the way that I did this, I'm sure that there's probably a ribbon somewhere in the images. I just couldn't find it or knew what it was called. Sometimes they call it a tag. So I do have Cricut access, so I'm going to go in here. I'm going to type in the word ribbon, and I'm going to go over to this little cone filter, and I'm going to change to Cricut access because I only want to see images that are included in my membership. And I use this here, but I basically sliced it and cut it all apart, and I'll show you how I did that because it helps you start to get used to using the slice tool. So I'm going to insert that image. And what I did was went over to here, and there's a bunch of other pieces that I don't really need. I just kind of want the background. You can ungroup it, grab the whole thing and hit ungroup, and then go over here, and the ones that you turned off you can actually delete by hitting the delete key on your keyboard. So now you don't want to have unnecessary layers over here, at least I don't. And now I'm going to slice this image. So I'm going to insert another shape. Just a square is fine, because I really just want the bottom part of this ribbon. Go like this. Grab it both and you hit your slice key. And you can click off of that, and you'll see that this has been cut into many different pieces, and all I want is that piece there. Now again, I know that there's a ribbon somewhere in the images. I just didn't know what it was called, so for the sake of time and it being quick, I just did it this way. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to go to my edit panel and I'm going to rotate it by 90 degrees. And now I'm just going to size it by unclicking the proportions, unlocking the proportions, excuse me, and I'm just going to bring it out, and you'll see now that gave me the piece that I wanted for the front of this. I'm going to make sure it is in the front. I'm going to bring it down over here. And move it. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Don't forget about your undo key up here. You can always undo it. It's flipped around, so my sizing isn't where it normally is when you're used to grabbing it. So I think that looks pretty good. Actually, I'm going to move it up here a little bit. And I think I want to make these background boxes a little more of a rectangle, just visually, I think, to match my other card. I'm going to bring it down. Actually, I'm going to group these together so they move together in proportion. And I'm going to unlock those proportions, and I'm going to bring it down like this because I want it a little bit more rectangle. I also see that the white is not exactly even. It doesn't really matter because I can center it when I actually assemble the card. So, but if I really wanted to be a stickler, I could ungroup it and move that white over a hair just to try to get that centered a little bit better. That looks pretty good. All right, so now I'm going to grab my ribbon. I'm going to arrange it to the front again, move to the front. So there we go. We've got the base of the card. And actually this, I'm even going to drag it out a little bit longer because I want to make sure I have plenty of space on there to write the sentiments that I'm going to add. Okay, so now I'm going to add some text. I want to know what we want this to say. So did I hit the text? Yes, I did. Here it is, all the way up here. So I'm going to scroll over so I can see what I'm writing. So since I already did it with Sympathy, I think this one I'm going to say happy birthday. And I'm going to do it in 2 lines. Oops. Okay, there we go. Now, let me see what the font was that I used for this, because if I'm honest, I don't exactly remember. So I'm going to detach this real quick. I'm working on another screen where I've already built this and I can see what it is. No, that's not right. It says Cricut Alphabet. Okay, well anyway, so I'm going to make this go smaller. I'm going to bring it down. And this I'm going to have right on here. I don't want this to cut, so I'm going to want a writing style when we choose a font. So we're going to bring that down. And again, just eyeball it to see what you think looks good to you. When I change the font, it's probably going to change that anyway. So then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to choose writing. And actually, for the purposes of a birthday card, I think that looks okay. We can still use that. It's kind of fun. Let's see what other fonts I see on here that I like that might look nice for a birthday card. Actually, I think there's one called Cake Basics or something. Sometimes Design Space takes forever when you're trying to load these fonts down. So let's see. Let's go down here. I think it's called Birthday Cake Basics or Cake Basics or something. Let me see. Birthday cakes. Let's try that one and see how that looks. I believe that has a writing style. And it does. And it's going to allow me to make it even a little bit bigger. And there we go. Now if you wanted to choose a particular color, you can certainly go over here to where it's going to write, and you can choose the color. I don't worry about it so much because I'll just put the pen in, but for the purposes of this, I'm going to use the blueberry color just so we can see what it looks like with the blue. Now I want to insert some flowers. So I'm going to go insert. I'm going to type in flower. And again, I'm going to go ahead and filter this to only Cricut Access images. And you get lots of different flowers here. I'm going to choose this one. Now these I'm going to cut in the distressed foam that Cricut has to offer. It looks really cute on the front of this card. You can see that there's two different layers for this. Again, you can ungroup them. I don't want the bottom layer, I'm going to delete it, or you can just turn it off so you can't see it. I just don't like having a bunch of layers in my panel that I'm not using. So for this I'm going to choose to duplicate it 4 times. 1, 2, alright, I think I only need 4 flowers total, so duplicated it 3 times. Okay, one of them I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger, and one I'm going to make a little bit smaller. I'm going to put that one on top of that. I'm going to group these together. Not attach them, just group them. I want them to cut separately, but I just want to see what they look like. And then this I'm going to put over here. I'm going to size it down a little bit. These are probably a little too big. I'm going to cut them down a little bit. Put this one right about there. Same with this. Size it down. Put it over here. And there we go. We have our flowers. And the last thing I want to insert is I used a little bit of a fern leaf, which I thought cut really cute. You could do any type of leaves, but we're going to type in fern. Hit enter. I'm going to, again, filter. This doesn't look like any of the ones that I used before. So let's just try leaves. I'll type in leaves and see what we get there. I think that might have been where I found the one that I used. Okay, and I think I'm already clicked on access. Oh, where are you? I do not see the one that I used before. I'm going to go leaf. Well, that wasn't spelled right. Alright, I'm just going to put this one in for right now. And when I cut it, you can see the one that I actually used. Click it, you hit insert image. And I kind of want it facing the other direction. That's just visually more pleasing to me, so I'm going to use the mirror image. And I'm going to put it here. And I want it behind the flowers, so I'm going to move it backward. I don't want to go all the way to the back, just behind the flowers, so move it backward again. And that looks pretty good. So there you have it. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to the machine, and I'm going to cut everything. Okay, here we go. I've cut all the pieces. And this piece here, which was in the center of the card here, I ran through the Cuttlebug, an embossing folder. You can use any embossing folder. The one that I chose was an Anna Griffin. It's called Feather Illusion. It comes with a border as well. And I just ran that through quickly just to give it some added dimension to the front of the card. So that's all done. So we've got all of our pieces here. We've got our fun foam, which I made sure that I put my deep cut blade in and set my custom setting to the Cricut distressed foam. So I have 4 of those little flowers, and I've got all the pieces cut. I've got some bling, some little gems and jewels that I'm going to use on it, and here we go. So I have my hot glue gun heating up, as well as I'll use my ATG glider and just some regular two-way glue, two-way Zig Memory System two-way glue. I really like this glue, and I have it in 2 sizes. So here we go. So there's a score line that we had put on there, so I'm just going to go ahead and fold the card in half. Get my pieces out of the way. I'm going to use my bone folder to make that a nice, strong, sharp edge. And I'm going to take the first black piece that we cut that goes on here like this. Just going to put some glue on the back of that. Okay, and I'm going to try to center this as best as I can. Get it right the first time. There we go. Looks pretty good. Okay, this is the next piece that goes on, which is the white front. Oh, one more bottom there. All right, and we're just going to put that down there. So the font that I used on the front of this one was Elizabeth. I couldn't find it when I was working in Design Space. It was called Elizabeth. I think that might be a font that I have added on to my machine, so you might want to stick with the Cricut one that we had used, Cake Basics or something I think it was called. I forget already. That's what old age does to you. So, okay, so the next piece, I'm going to put these 2 together first. Actually, this goes on the back here. So this is, I used 2 different patterned papers. As you can see, this one's going to be in the back, and this one's going to go on top of this black card here. So first I want to make sure I put this one down in the background. And again, I'm just going to kind of eyeball where I think I want it to go. Oh, shoot. That didn't stick. I dropped it a little crooked. I do that a lot. Okay, so there we go. That's there. Now these 2 I'm going to put together first, this on this, before I actually glue it to the card base. There we go. Looks pretty good. Now I can put that on the base. So this is a fairly simple card with just a lot of shapes, but it gives it a lot of nice dimension. All right, that's right. I have to move it over because I'm going to put some of these little jewels on there. Okay, there we go. Looks good. This one, I'm going to also, on the back of my embossing, I'm going to make sure that I use the raised side to the front. You could do it either way, I guess. I'm going to put this on here first. Okay, flip it right over. Put some tape on the back. Alrighty, just gonna kind of center that there just like that. There we go, it's coming together nicely. So we have these little flowers and fern pieces. I'm going to go ahead and put the actual sentiment. Again, I did happy birthday on it this time instead of with sympathy. add a little extra glue on the ends there. Make sure it sets down nicely. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to work with these pieces. So I think, let me see, how do I want to, actually I think I'll put these down first before I glue those on the top. So this, I'm just going to use some scrap paper. I like to use scrap paper when I put my glue on these pieces, so that way you don't care so much where the glue goes on these little tiny pieces. You could run this through a Xylon sticker machine too, which I do have one of those. I think that's what it's called. And I always forget I have it and I never use it. Just as easy. So we're going to put this, I'm going to kind of set this there, just like that. Looks good. Do these other little two pieces. Let's see, first before I do that, where do I want that? How do I want these to go? Okay, so I think for this I'm going to use my tweezers. I'm going to set this down right on there like that. Okay, put some glue on this one. Like that, there we go. Okay, now I'm going to set these with some hot glue. So we had a couple different sizes. I think this is the small one for inside there. I'm going to kind of put right about there, and then there, and like that. That should work. So I'm just going to put a little dab of glue on the back. I hate these little glue pieces that you get. These two, I'm going to first glue the two together. Put a little dab on the back. Set that there like that. Oh, see, I always burn myself with this hot glue. I really do not like working with hot glue. Would love to know any tricks anyone has for that. And then the last piece here. Just gonna set there like so. And then while the glue is still hot, I'm trying to figure out if I want to use white ones or black ones. I guess I'll stick with the black. Gives it that little bit of punch. I'm just going to put these little beads in here. Oh, and that one got a little bit off center, so let's just move it over just a little bit. So I must apologize. My camera ran out of memory. I'm doing this on my iPhone. I'm new to all of these videos and sort of learning my way. So from the time that the last part of the video ended, I was just putting on the little black centers of the flowers, and the only thing after that I did after that was put on these little blingy jewels, and that was it, and that completes it. So I appreciate you watching, and hopefully if you're new to Cricut as I was a year ago, and I watched tons of these videos, you'll be able to learn something. So have a great day. Bye now.